If you watch TED videos, like I do a lot, you'll notice that some of the speakers are using a really interesting presentation tool where the slides or the presentation flies around from point to point and does all sorts of animation and fun stuff. And today we're at Prezi and we're going to learn about their new product, but we're going to learn how to make one of those presentations. So who are you?
Well, I'm the CEO of Prezi, and my name is Peter Arvai, and I joined this company about 2 years ago, first in Budapest, where the company started, and during the last few months I've been spending most of my time here in San Francisco, establishing our presence here.
Very cool. I think we're going to do this interview in two pieces. The first one is going to be for people who are familiar already with Prezi and have seen what a cool presentation tool that is, because you have a bunch of cool new features coming out, and we want to cover those first. Okay. And then for people who don't know what Prezi is, we're going to come back to what is Prezi and all that fun
Sure.
stuff. So what's new?
So we're about to release Prezi Meeting, which allows people to edit and present Prezi's real time together with other people. And this means that we will have some funny small avatars like you have the ones in video games, representing different people on this large shared space. It's like a large whiteboard, essentially. You will see how people can contribute with ideas there, and also go easy from edit mode to present mode. So we can easily switch between the people who want to show ideas.
So I use Prezi because I find it a remarkable presentation tool, and I notice lots of TED speakers and people who really care about their imagery on stage and how they're presenting themselves use it quite a lot. What does this new service let me do?
Yeah, well, when we launched Prezi in the beginning, it was all about this monologue situation, one person standing and talking in front of a large audience, and then hopefully a large group of people listening, right? And then we looked at our users and the way they were using Prezi, and it turned out that actually a lot of people were using Prezi in discussion situations, so when they were discussing different topics. And given the fact that Prezi, instead of doing slides the way presentation tools do it, what Prezi does instead is it collects all these ideas into one surface, right? And it allows for people to present in what they sometimes call a non-linear way. So instead of doing slide by slide by slide, you can show a big picture, and then you can sort of zoom in or focus on the topics that are interesting to anyone in the room. So, you know, in the slide situation, this is a little bit like you get a question, what about this? And then you think, let me get to that in 20 slides, or even worse, you start flickering back and forth to find that particular slide. Well, hopefully with Prezi you don't have that sort of issue, because essentially you zoom out, take a look at the big picture, and then you zoom into the part that's relevant to that particular topic. Yeah. So that's the sort of non-linear form of presenting which this large surface helps you to do.
No, Prezi is like a mind mapping tool.
It's yeah, it's a combination of a mind map and a presentation tool. And so it works really well if you're in the creation phase of an idea. So let's say you haven't spent years researching a topic, you're not ready for your TED presentation yet. Yeah. You know, usually there's years of work behind those 20 minutes of talk. But you know, you have something that you're thinking about, a strategy for your startup, or you're just brainstorming on the new pitch in your ad agency, or you're a teacher thinking about how to explain US history. Well, then you're in more of a creation phase, and you're more of a discussion phase, be it together with your colleagues or your manager, or even with your clients, right? Yeah. And for that sort of situation, it turns out that it's pretty good to have this sort of easy overview, and then the ease of going into parts and then developing those And we saw that this was occurring a lot with Prezi, and we realized that people wanted to do this in real time from different computers. And we have unfortunately not solved that until now, where essentially what you do is you take the URL of a Prezi, you send it over on Skype or an email, and boom, your friends are in, and they can help you to develop the topic either by editing the Prezi or just of course the internet industry as such has been talking about this for years and years now, and you know, all the large players are looking at this space as well. But the interesting thing about our own experience with Prezi Meeting is that we ended up using it a lot, not just when we're in different rooms, but when we're in the same room. So for example, we have an office in Budapest and in San Francisco, as I mentioned, but actually majority of the times when we're using it, we're sitting in the same room, we project out the Prezi from one of the computer onto a large wall, and then we have 4 people adding in different things, and we're talking at the same time, and it just allows us to sort of more easily work together on sharing ideas.
Can people see as you're typing, or does it just post after you hit save or something like that?
Yeah, you have to finish your sentence, for
Okay.
now at least. Yeah.
Okay.
But the images pop right in, and the videos pop right in. So
It's really useful to be able to collaborate like that. And that comes out today, September 9th, because we're saving the video until the embargo ends. What are you? You're a really interesting one. I mean, I've interviewed the PowerPoint team and the Slide Rocket team, and those are very traditional approaches to this. You know, slide number 1, you do this. Slide number 2, you do this. Slide number 3, and I love Prezi because I don't think like that. I need to mind map. I need to, you know, oh, I'm talking on Web 2.0. I need to cover this company. Oh, I need to also cover this topic. I need to cover this thing. And I just spread out my thoughts onto this whiteboard, right?
Yeah.
How big can that whiteboard be?
Well,
because it seems to go on forever.
I
don't think I've found the edges of it.
Well, there are actually some theoretical edges to it, but unless you're abusing the zooming, you won't find it.
Yeah.
So, but there is you can stress the system, and we actually have thought about including some direct feedback on when you reach the edges. But it's funny that you mentioned the way you develop your presentation, because it turns out that most professional creative people are just like you. They don't want to develop their presentations by going to the slides first. So I've taken a look at and most of the famous people like Duarte Design or large international architect companies like Gensler, how they develop their presentations, and they never start out with the slides. They would have a large table where they put papers, or they have a large whiteboard, or they use Post-its, or like you do, people use mind maps. And I think that's one of the actually reasons why Prezi is helping people not just to create those nice effects that you mentioned in the beginning with you know, zooming from different parts, but actually helps people to figure out what they're thinking when they want to present an idea.
Yeah.
And that's actually a part that shouldn't be underestimated, because we usually think about presentations as something that we deliver on a stage. But the preparation to get to that point is actually almost as important, if not more important. Figuring out your key messages is something that you need to have, you know, a pool of ideas, and you need to easily rearrange. And the issue with slides is that it chops up you have to chop up your ideas on slides. And if you realize that, oh, I actually wanted to combine my ideas, half of this slide, 1/3 of that slide, and 1/3 of another slide, then that's sort of hard to do in a new slide, right? So that is actually something that makes it more difficult for you to develop your point in PowerPoint.
No, I totally agree. I think I've sat through so many PowerPoints because I worked at Microsoft and even before that, and I've never. It's rare I see a good one, a good presentation done with PowerPoint. I think it forces too much of a rigid thinking. Oh, this slide we have to talk about the team. This slide we have to talk about the budget. This slide we have to talk about this, and it forces you into a very rigid approach. And if something happens in the meeting or in the presentation, where somebody asks a question, you have to go in that order, and you can't. Oh wait, we'll talk about that later. In Prezi, I'm freeform, and I could. Oh, let's go back out to the Zoom, and look at the big picture, and zoom right into that point where, and I can respond to people in the room, right?
And it turns out there's actually very good research on this that shows that if you actually want to persuade people in some sort of thinking that you've come up with, you need to actually listen to their concern. If you involve people in a discussion, they're much more likely to accept your ideas than if you do your spiel in 20 minutes and then either get thumbs up or thumbs down. Yeah.
Now the disadvantage of Prezi's approach is you have to. It's a mind shift. PowerPoint is popular because it's fairly straightforward. You hit a button, you get a bunch of bullet points, and you hit another button, you get a title, and you hit another button, you get another slide, right? And it's because it is so structured and regimented, it's easy to learn. Prezi is a little wacky.
I think that you have to be open. I mean, if you want to utilize this non-linear way of presenting, you have to be open to going to a meeting and not, prepare in a manner, I'm going to say these 20 things and then I'm going to walk away. You have to go there and say, I'm going to go there, I'm going to do my best, and I bring my best ideas, but, who knows where this meeting will go, because the discussion will decide.
Yeah.
And that is a different mental state, I think. And that's sort of, yes, the technical part of it is important, right? Yeah. Do I arrange it in slides or do I arrange it on a large canvas? But I think the mental part of, what do I expect to get out of this meeting? Yeah. Is also a big shift.
That's not where I was going, although you're absolutely right. It requires you to think about the meeting differently than just in a bunch of slides. I'm thinking about, Prezi is this whiteboard, really, where I'm going to say, oh, I need to talk about the team here, and I need to talk about the opportunity here, and I need to talk about the competition here, and I need to talk about this here. And then I have this whiteboard with all these ideas and all these things I have to cover in our meeting, right? But now I have to stitch them together. I have to be able to fly from one to the next, and learning the tool is a little bit difficult because it's not regimented, right? It's not one.
So there's two types of challenges, and I think that's definitely true. One challenge is learning the interface, which is different. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you can all of a sudden make your own Google Maps, but not of the world, but of your ideas, right? It zooms back and forth. Yeah. The UI is different. Completely agree. The interface is different. But besides that, what I wanted to bring across, and which maybe people sometimes underestimate, is, okay, can I have a more effective meeting if I think about my presentation, not in terms of the things I have to cover in a specific order, but here are some of my best ideas, and I wonder what, the other participants can contribute with. Yeah. How can I get their best ideas to be a part of mine, and together we ultimately have a better product, a better strategy, better solution, etc.
Well, that's one thing that I dealt with Prezi already. It's iterative, so I can keep building on, and my audience can inform me and say, oh, you forgot this company on this point. And I can just enter that, right? But now they can enter it. Yeah. They can just go to that slide and say, "Oh, you forgot Facebook under social networking."
So and that's exactly what we call the frustralog. I don't know if you've been in this situation where you're in a meeting and you have one person sitting and editing one document, trying to take notes of what the meeting is saying. And then you maybe project that even so the others at least say what the notes what the notes say, And then you have people trying to chime in, and but what about my idea? What about that? You know, and people are just frustrated.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why we developed Prezi Meeting, because now when my friend feels that they have an idea which they don't want to stop the conversation, they still want to make a note of their idea, they just throw that in there, make it really small, almost hide it, but it's in there. And if we want to go back to that, discuss that, zoom in on it, then we do. But we don't have to sit and, you know, feel frustrated. How does my idea fit in with the other people's thinking? There's always more space to add in your thoughts.
Now, some other differences between PowerPoint and Prezi. Prezi's an online application. You need a web browser and you need to have an internet connection. If you don't have an internet connection, it doesn't work, right? Is it still that way, or are you changing
No, well, actually, ever since we launched, you can install Prezi onto your computer. So you can do Prezis offline as well, but then you have to pay. So that's how we make our money.
Okay.
And yeah, in that sense, it worked out for us, because for being as early stage as we are, we just released a little over a year ago. We're already cash flow positive, and that
helps.
That helps.
Very cool. Okay, how much is it, by the way?
So there's actually 2 levels.
Okay.
The offline version, which you're talking about now, costs $159 per year. But if you want to have secret presentations, which is the middle tier, then you pay $59 per year, because if you use the free version of Prezi, then you have to publicize or make all the Prezis public that you do. So if you're okay to do all your presentations while you have an online connection, but you want to make secret ones that not the whole world can see, then it's $59.
So tell me a little bit about some of the advanced tips that you've seen. What do people do with Prezi to make their presentation really look finely detailed? Because I've seen some presentations that are just mind-blowing. And give me a couple tips for how to make the flying behavior, because when you hook up those 8 ideas, it flies from one idea cluster or frame, you call it, right? To the next, right? And sometimes I see people do spinning effects, and sometimes I see text fly in and stuff like that. How did they do that?
Oh, it's pretty easy. If you turn an object, what Prezi does, it zooms to the upright position, whatever you define as upright. So how do I explain this easily? Let's say you put an A like this, and then you put a V like this, right? Then the A will be shown like this, but Prezi will turn to show the V. So then you have this spinning effect. I'm actually not a big fan of the spinning myself. I think what Prezi can be used really good for, if you want to use a couple of tricks, is, for example, you start out with a detail of a problem or an opportunity or an issue that you're addressing, and then you sort of start zooming out to see more and more layers, and that usually creates a surprise effect for the audience when they realize that this little issue is just a problem of a large, a detail of a large problem. Yeah. And that is pretty effective.
Now, do you have a place where people can learn about how to do these effects and stuff like that?
Yes, so we have prezi.com/learn. And then we have Explore as well, where you can explore others' Prezis. And we even have a reuse function. So a lot of people allow their Prezis to be reused. So you can take many of your favorite Prezis and then just change a little bit of the content in there.
Very cool. Where do we learn more about you and about Prezi?
On prezi.com.
And what are you on Twitter?
I'm on Twitter, Peter Arvai, @Peter Arvai, or @Prezi. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's a great tool. I love it. So thank you for making something that changed my life.
You're very welcome.